Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Football Friday webcast as we officially get ready for the rest of Week 1 of the 2016 NFL season. Matt Catrillo, Alex Kazora, Tyler DeGiacomo back here with you as always. And joining us finally is Ian Hunter, all settled in Illinois with his new radio job. Ian, congratulations and welcome aboard finally to the full week-to-week edition of the webcast.
Thank you so much. We're mostly settled in. We're getting there.
That is good. That is good to hear. Alex, Tyler, welcome back, and it's going to be another fun week. We had a fun game last night. Ready to kick things off. What's happening?
Hey, guys. Yep, good to be back. Good to see some football back last night, so we actually can end the speculation and talk about things that actually happened.
Absolutely. D-Jock, what's going on?
Not much. Just here on my extended lunch break at work. Hoping to get this done quickly so I can get back to the office. But otherwise, it's football. I wouldn't miss this for the world, so.
Absolutely, we'll get it going there. Same here. I got some Friday night football tonight. I know Ian does that too. Maybe we'll kind of give some teasers to that later on in the show. But first, we're gonna get to some Sam Bradford trade reaction as Howie Roseman kind of lit the world on fire with that unbelievable trade. 8 days from the start of the regular season. We'll get into that. We'll start that in one sec. Then Drew Brees gets a contract extension with the New Orleans Saints. We'll briefly talk about that. And one of our very own from Clarion, those that followed us at 91.7 FM, Julian Hauser, former defensive end, outside linebacker, makes the New York Jets roster and is now the starting fullback. Just awesome to hear. So we'll talk about that briefly. We hope to talk to him in the next few weeks or so, just trying to work some things out and trying to get him on the show. We'll, of course, recap last night's game between the Broncos and Panthers, Super Bowl rematch, get more into the Browns-Eagles matchup, then Steelers-Redskins on Monday Night Football. We'll get some thoughts on the 53-man roster that was officially set last week, and then we'll get some other Week 1 breakdowns as well, and we'll see what else we can mix in the time being. So, guys, let's get to it with the Sam Bradford trade going down Saturday morning, shocking the world as Howie Roseman for the Eagles, getting the Minnesota Vikings 2017 to this upcoming draft's first-round pick, so the Eagles find themselves back into the first round after it was announced that the NFL draft is coming to Philadelphia next year. Then the Eagles get a fourth-round 2018 pick that could become a third-round pick if the Vikings make the NFC Championship game, and that could become a second-round pick if the Vikings win the Super Bowl. So, guys, I'll throw my 2 cents out first because I know I'm in the minority. I was not a fan of this trade. I do like that they got the first-round pick, but I don't think it was enough to make this kind of a move. Because basically, and Alex, I'm going to steal your analogy when you and I talked about this. You basically have two teams that were just about ready to sink and may not be able to make the playoffs, and the Eagles were the ones that only had the life jacket, and basically they handed that life jacket to the Vikings, so the Eagles now drown, dealing with the rookie quarterback now and Carson Wentz to begin his new era. The Eagles, of course, drafted number 2 overall, and to only get a fourth-round pick in addition to that first-round pick, to me, doesn't cut it. It should have been at least a third and a first. I would have been fine with that. I know it could eventually turn into that, but you're asking a lot because the NFC is going to be very competitive, with the Seahawks and the Cardinals and the Packers, etc. So I don't think you can totally count on that to get that pick. I wanted to know right away. If I'm getting that third-round pick in addition to the first-round pick, then maybe I think about it. But even so, if I'm the Eagles, if you truly wanted to have Carson Wentz sit out this year, which I think he should have because I don't think he's ready yet, though obviously everybody else kind of disagrees with me, then you should have kept Sam Bradford because then you still could have had the chance and still stayed in the playoff conversation, even though I really don't know if this could have been a playoff team. So, Alex, since I stole your analogy, I'm going to start with you on this one and your initial thoughts of the Bradford trade.
I think I've told you guys I've warmed up to it a little bit. At first, I kind of thought was, there goes the Eagles' seasons. Any hopes that you had left for this season are kind of washed away of success. But I will say this: I think Sam Bradford's trade value. They've been trying to kind of move him for a while now. His trade value right now at the time of his deal was as high as it's ever been and as high as it was ever going to get. Because if you try to trade him in the offseason, you're dealing with free agency and the draft, and teams are less likely to be able to deal with you because they have other options. They have some leverage. In a situation like this, where the Vikings, obviously Teddy Bridgewater's terrible injury put him in an awful spot because they were a playoff caliber, potential Super Bowl caliber team, and then they go to, can they even make the playoffs? Can they even compete for a wild card spot? There was that incentive there, and they had no leverage at all. They had to make a move. or their season was going to be over. So I think, the Eagles made the right timing of the move to make the deal. But I can also understand as an Eagles fan, if you were hoping to win now, those hopes kind of went away.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened because and I know there's a lot of optimism with Eagle fans, and Tyler, I'll go to you next in a second here. What your thoughts of the Wentz media has been, but there's a lot of Eagle fans that still think the Eagles can win this year, maybe even win the division. I think that's totally crazy. Again, I look at a guy as again a one-read quarterback, a guy that's a little bit reckless with the football, has a lot to learn. I keep hearing, and Frank Reich, a Lebanon native here, who I talked to when I covered Eagles training camp earlier in July, loves this kid and just talks about how mentally focused he is and how his football IQ is off the charts, this and that. Okay, well, that's fine, but then when I see it on the field, how come am I seeing him always kind of stare the quarterback down and just go off his first read? I'm not seeing that carry it on to the field whether it could be showing that off in the film room. So I need to see that more and more on the field. And to me, that takes a lot of time. I didn't totally put this against him, but you do wonder what kind of a jump it's going to be going from a 1AA level up to the NFL. And I'm just not. I think you're going to see a lot of mistakes this year. And it comes to Week 1 against the Cleveland Browns, even though they're probably going to be one of the worst teams in football. So Tyler, I'll go to you now on your initial reaction about the Sam Bradford trade.
I think me, you, and Alex talked as soon as it happened, and we were all kind of iffy about it. But I guess I liked it from the beginning. I'm trying to warm up to it even more. As both you guys alluded to, this is going to be Sam Bradford's highest trade value. The initial plan was to have Bradford play this year, Wentz to have his redshirt year, and then Wentz play next year, when you can probably get nothing for Bradford. So I think it's fine. It's still a winnable division. But we just don't know what you're going to get out of Wentz. Obviously, he went with 39 total plays in the preseason. Be interested to see what happens against the Browns in Week 1. And I'm sure all our thoughts are going to change, this time next week. It could be, Wentz comes out and throws for 300 yards. Oh, he's fantastic. He comes out and throws for 2 yards. Oh, my God, he's the worst quarterback ever. And that's kind of on your level, Catrillo, of you're really good, really bad. But that's just your mindset. Excuse me. But just I think the way I'm going to break it down, I think his head coach is Doug Peterson, NFL quarterback. His quarterback's coach is Frank Reich, a NFL quarterback. There's a third, Alex, there's a third quarterback coach.
The Filippo.
Yeah, Dave Filippo, who's been one of the top quarterback coaches in a while. Right. Eagles brought him in. So yeah, gotcha. I get he's got the tools, D-Jock, but I'm saying he can have. I'm just saying he can have the acumen. He can have all the coaches he wants, but I'm just saying this kid hasn't been able to fully put it on the field and let alone stay on the field with all of his injury concerns.
He had one injury in college where he broke his wrist. That was a freak thing. And then the rib injury, again, was a freak thing. He is not damaged goods. It happens. Obviously, would like him to get more reps in the preseason. But going to my point, you have 3 guys who are NFL quarterbacks, succeed at the NFL level, and all 3 of them are saying that he is ready to start game 1 of this season. So there's 3 guys that were very good in the NFL, and all 3 are given their blessing on it. So I think it'll be fine. Obviously, yes, there'll be growing pains, but it's a pretty easy schedule per se to start off with. Yeah, was it the Browns Week 1 and Week 2 is a pretty manageable game 2. Then they kind of get into the meat of the schedule. So I think it'll be fine. It just you're just moving the process up 1 year. Why not? And we'll see what happens.
I just think it's a lot to ask the kid to do right off the bat when you were fully expecting him to sit out the whole year. So my question is, how can you sell to the fan base, and how can the fan base even be sold on this, that you're telling me a guy that you were planning to sit out the year? I get things change, but how can you be all of a sudden be ready come Week 1 when you only have 39 preseason snaps and you got hurt in that game? Now, I get it. I will say this: because you've made this type of radical move, you've put yourself in a position to sit this kid. Because if you were to wait on him, it's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid. You might as well put him in now. Because to me, the way Chase Daniel played in the preseason, I'd rather have the kid make mistakes, and I think that still gives me a better chance to win than have Chase Daniel in there because he was that bad during the preseason. So I am in agreement that Wentz should play Week 1 and start Sunday. what I'm saying, but putting him in that position because you traded away a guy in Sam Bradford that to me would give you the best chance to win right now was not the right move. But Ian, I'll go to you.
My official opinion on this entire thing is that you got a first-round pick for Sam Bradford. In fact, they got a first-round pick for him is amazing.
But here's the thing, though. They should have gotten a first-round pick because of the circumstance that the Vikings were desperate for a quarterback because without at least a decent quarterback, they're down from being a Super Bowl.
Yes, you can't win games without at least a steady quarterback, unless you're the Ravens and you have Trent Dilfer. But that doesn't happen all the time. But you look at the Vikings were in a position where they had to do something. I think you're a Super Bowl caliber team. You have to go in. You have to try and do something to at least bring some stability to the position. If you're the Eagles, you knew you weren't going to make the playoffs this year, and you gave a king's ransom for Carson Wentz. So much so that you had nothing to try to build that team for the next year or two. So bring picks in. You got a first-round pick? Amazing. You're getting more than a first-round pick for Sam Bradford? I don't care if it's a seventh-round pick. The fact that you're getting more for him is incredible. It's a great move by the Eagles, and it's a great move by the Vikings. There was two teams that did what they had to do. You had an unhappy Sam Bradford, who you're going to get rid of at the end of the year anyway. You have the Vikings, who are looking towards their future this season. It's a good move for both teams. I thought that as soon as it happened.
DeGiacomo or Catrillo, remind me, what did the Eagles trade to go up and get Wentz? Do you remember what off the top of your head? Catrillo.
They traded. They had number 8. It was a 4th-round pick from this year, and it was, if I remember that correctly, and then they gave up the 2nd-round pick in 2018. And so what I wanted to see from that trade was try and get that 2nd-round pick back, which they still could in theory, because if the Eagles get a 2nd-round pick from the Vikings if they win the Super Bowl, but that's asking a lot.
My point is that in essence is the Eagles for Carson Wentz traded a 2nd-round pick, right? Because they get the 1st and 4th back.
In essence, yes.
So you go up and get your franchise guy. You go up there and get your franchise guy for the cheapest way anyone's ever traded up to get a franchise quarterback before. I don't think any team's traded so little to go up there and get their quarterback. So. From that standpoint, it's a slam dunk win for the Eagles, and that's not even a point you can debate.
Well, right, and I would agree with that. I think what's keeping me from liking this deal flat out, the very base of this, and I've said this before, is because I'm not a Carson Wentz believer, and I've mentioned it multiple times why I don't think Carson Wentz should have been drafted by the Eagles that high. He shouldn't have been drafted that high, period, in my opinion. I had a 3rd-round grade on him. I'm sticking by it. And I think the Eagles still had a quarterback where if they continue to build around him a little bit, and they were in a spot to do so at 8 at the time, because Howie Roseman made such a great trade moving up from 13 to 8, you get rid of bad contracts like Kiko Alonso and Byron Maxwell to the Dolphins, and you were in a prime spot to either get a lineman, which Larry Tunsil could have fallen to their lap at that time. You could have traded back, get another pick, and then get a receiver. So I think the Eagles were in a better spot than trying to trade up and get Carson Wentz, who I don't think is NFL ready.
I understand that, but once they took Wentz, forget about what they could have, should have, would have done. It's crying over spilled milk at that point. It's, this is what the landscape they had. Wentz was going to be the starter by next year. Bradford, you can trade now at his highest value, or you can trade him in the offseason when everyone knows you're trying to dump him. And it's a lot tougher to do at that point. So I think it's hard to fault the Eagles for, again, you trade the 2nd-round pick for your franchise quarterback. Regardless of how you think of him, from the Eagles' standpoint, is they think he's going to be their guy for 10 years. Will it happen? I don't know. No one knows. But from the Eagles' standpoint, in the moment, 2nd-round pick for a franchise guy, it's a pretty good deal.
And, of course, that'll start Sunday. And, again, I like they got the 1st-round pick. Of course, that'll certainly help when the draft comes to Philly next year, on top of that. But, again, I just don't – they needed to get more than that because of the position that both teams were in. But
they did. They got a 4th and potentially up to a 2nd. They did get more than that.
Yeah, but that's potential. I want
Well, they definitely got a 4. They definitely got more than a 1st. So you said they needed to get more than a 1st.
Wanted a 3rd.
They did. Okay, well, let's not quibble about 1-round pick. Again, the Eagles manufactured a deal to get a franchise quarterback better than probably any team in NFL history.
Right, and again, I would agree with that, but again, I just don't think Wentz is the right guy. But you know what? I hope he proves me wrong. I've liked what I've seen from Wentz. From just the way he carries himself, the way he's been with his teammates, the way I think he can become a good leader. I think he's a real good stand-up guy. I think he's a very smart player, but I just need to see it on the field. and I don't know if that's going to happen, but he can start proving that to me, and I hope he does. I hope he makes me eat my words starting Sunday against the Cleveland Browns.
We all hope he makes you do that.
Yeah, and you know what? Those words will taste great if I know he's my franchise quarterback going forward.
You have a strange appetite.
Yeah.
Either thing will taste good if it gets me a guy that'll win me some things going forward, and then ultimately bring this fan base to Super Bowl, something that they've been asking for decades upon decades. But let's go now to another quarterback, and Drew Brees, who of course has won a Super Bowl and has had a very successful NFL career with the New Orleans Saints. And he gets a one-year contract extension worth $24.25 million. According to USA Today's Tom Pelissero, Brees was due $20 million in 2016 on the last year of his old deal. So now he's making $44.25 million over these next 2 seasons, fully guaranteed. And guys, I wasn't the biggest fan of this contract extension for the Saints. He's very deserving of it just because of what he's done for that organization. But I'm looking at the Saints here and now, and there's not a whole lot around Drew Brees to build up. And I think the Saints are getting a point where they need to kind of say goodbye to Brees, and they need to start from scratch. And now that they've kind of buried themselves in all that money, that guaranteed money for the next 2 years, that's really going to deflate those chances of trying to start and rebuilding a little bit here. I'll start with Ian on that one.
I'm kind of with you. I get the move, but thinking 3 or 4 years ahead, what is your team's landscape going to look like whenever Drew Brees is gone? Most likely after that deal expires. You're not going to have a quarterback. The offensive line is suspect. Receivers are okay. And defensively, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL and in NFL history. So I would have rather have allocated those funds somewhere else, especially with Brees at 39 years old. But they made the move in a very quarterback-needy world. So I understand it, just don't like it.
Alex, what are your thoughts on the deal here?
Oh, I'm fine with it. I don't have a big issue. I think they were trying his cap hit was because they kept converting money and restructuring the deals before, and that 5-year, $100 million deal. The cap hit started to get super crazy. I think it was close to, I want to say, $30 million this year or something ridiculous like that. So you want to maybe try to restructure the deal to make it a little bit more team friendly right in the short term, so that you can get some of those pieces in. But he's your guy. It's not like he's going to be around for 5 years from now. It's not going to be a thing that's going to hamstring you. He's going to play out the rest of his deal. So I have no big problem with the deal. It's Drew Brees. That's the guy that you want to get and hold on to, because you need him to at least make yourself relevant and keep yourself in the conversation. So I'm fine with it.
But in terms of this seat for going forward here right now, Alex, I mean, where do you see the Saints as far as being competitive in the South, where you can maybe justify this contract?
No, they're going to be bad, but you justify it because Drew Brees is going to be your best guy, and you want to hold on to him as long as you can. I mean, I think regardless of whether you did the deal or not, the Saints were going to be bad, and so I don't think it really matters that much. I don't know where is D-Chalk going. I see him down there in my corner. Yeah, he's frozen again. This is why we can't have nice things, D-Jock. But no, I think it's fine. I know it's a lot of money. I know his age. I know he's not going to be around forever. But it's not like you're putting. I'll put good money into a good player than good money into a bad player. So he's going to play out his deal, and then they'll get that cap relief, a lot of cap relief once he's done.
And D-Jock, assuming he's now settled, your thoughts on the Drew Brees contract extension?
Yeah, I got kicked out of the meeting room. I was told there was no meeting, and now I'm in here now. But no, I mean, it's kind of like the Kobe Bryant type deal, kind of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Brees only has 1 or 2 years left with the Saints, so they just want to award him for being a good player for them and just give him some money and just show the appreciation for him. And that's all I'm thinking it is. I mean, I don't care too much about this deal. I think it's just just give Brees some money, make him happy, and send him on his merry way.
And of course, the Saints kick off their season at home at the Superdome on Sunday against the Oakland Raiders. Well, let's go now to the AFC guys real quick, and of course, let's get to our main man from Clarion, Julian Hauser, making not only the Jets' 53-man roster, but he is now the starting fullback. He was the second string. Jets cut their starter, and now Julian finds himself as a starting fullback just 2 years after being drafted by the Jets. as a linebacker, and then he converted to fullback. Found himself on the practice squad last year for the Jets, and a key special teams role. I'm sure that played a very big factor in why the Jets ultimately kept him. I think the starter didn't have that many special teams reps and didn't do a whole lot in that aspect of the game. So, D-Jog, I'm going to start with you. This is great because I know you, me, and Alex, we got a chance to cover him pretty much every step of the way during his path to the NFL. So your thoughts when you officially saw him as the new Jets starting fullback?
I mean, no, that was amazing. I mean, it was a great progression. He was on the practice squad last year, and now he makes the team this year. I mean, it was very surprising that they released their longtime fullback, Ty Bohannon. But no, Hauser looked pretty good in the preseason. I guess he showed well in practice. There's some talk that he may move to like a blocking tight end or something. But I think, no, he showed well, a couple of nice blocks in the preseason. And then that's amazing. That's awesome. This is the first Clarion football player in the NFL since Reggie
Wells.
Reggie Wells.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, no, and just as you guys said, we had a chance to interview him. He's a great guy, very humble. We had him on, our radio show back in Clarion. Always came on, always did everything for us, and hopefully we can get him on here one this week's. But then that was great for him. It's great. It's a Clarion guy. And a little personal note: now both my schools have a player in the NFL because now I'm at Canisius College. And we had a kid, Chris Manhurt, who's on our basketball team. We don't have football here, but made the New Orleans Saints roster as a third-string tight end. And so I can boast 2 NFL players from my school.
How about that? That is very cool.
Yeah.
And Alex, and when D-Jock just kind of talking about, there was the rumors that he might be going to a blocking tight end too, besides fullback. And one of the things we knew going into his path to being drafted, by being brought in by the Jets as an undrafted rookie free agent, was that being willing to be versatile. He was a linebacker, was willing to convert to fullback, and now he's obviously been a great special teams player. He was at Clarion. We know how athletic he can be, and it certainly proves that the way he's been able to kind of shuffle himself around to find a way to make this roster.
Yeah, I mean, well, if they tell you to change positions, if you're an undrafted kid like he was, you change positions. You don't really have an opportunity to say otherwise. But special teams is special teams. It doesn't really matter if you're a fullback or linebacker. It's all the same kind of skill set that you're looking for. So that was probably the key to him. But yeah, it was just surprising because Bohannon was the bigger blocking type, and he'd been around for a while, so you can see why they're going to a different kind of mold of player. He's going to be active. He's going to probably be a key guy on special teams, I imagine. So yeah, it's very cool. But he did get the benefit of being in a good situation in the sense that the Jets fullback tight end group was kind of a mess. They released a couple guys. They released Bohannon. They released Jason Morrow, Zach Sudfeld. So they kind of revamped that whole group there because they had probably one of the weakest tight end fullback groups in the NFL. So it's just that it's skill meeting opportunity with a little bit of luck as well, and that's how you make a team, and couldn't be happier for him.
Now, Ian, of course, you covered Julian towards the beginning of his career. So at that time, I'm curious to know if you thought that Julian could potentially be an NFL starter someday.
I mean, to be very honest and blunt, no, because no NFL player had gone to the NFL. No player from Clarion had gone to the NFL since Reggie Wells, and I can't tell you one that went before him. So I thought he was a nice player. I was hopeful that he would maybe one day get an opportunity. But I certainly didn't think that he was going to actually become a starter in the NFL in some shape or form. I was hoping he would get a chance at outside linebacker because I wanted to see him pass rush again. But, hey, to live your dream, sometimes you have to make changes and sacrifices, and he did it, and now he's playing in the NFL. And that's not something we should understate. Starting, that's all great, but just when you come from a Division II program and you're playing in the NFL, that's a big deal.
Absolutely, and the PSAC, I know it really hasn't happened for Clarion nonetheless, with the exception of Hauser and Reggie Wells, but we've seen guys from this conference thrive in the NFL, most notably Andre Reed, who was just inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, of course, the Kutztown product with Buffalo, of course. Hauser now in that same division. We've seen Rontez Miles from Cal U. He also made the Jets roster as one of the second or third safety spots, and of course he's been really good on special teams too. Had a block punt against the Giants in the Jets' third preseason game, so he's really come along. He spent some time in the Jets practice squad before he came in. And Eric Kush from Cal U, and was up to the final cuts with the LA Rams, but as we also on Hard Knocks, and you three watched the whole series, he was cut right at the end of the preseason. So, and it sounds like I believe the Bears picked him up on the practice squad. So, this PSAC conference, you certainly can make a name of yourself, of course, if you're willing to be versatile and basically do whatever the teams ask of you, because you never know if you can get a starting job. And it's great to see our guy from Clarion, Julian Hauser, make the Jets, and we wish him a great season. Again, we'll try and keep you posted, and we'll try to get him on the show at some point here. And so we'll get to week one.
Hi. No, just a quick comment here to wrap it up here. Yeah, I remember how upset you were that they're going to make Hauser change his position, and I remember you said, "Oh, why you change position?" So if he didn't change his position, he would never be in the NFL, and wanted to be in the NFL, so he changed his position.
I was intrigued by it. I mean, I just didn't think it was going to be ideal for him,
Intrigue is a funny way to describe Catrillo's anger. I like that.
But I was intrigued when he first told us, because it was the Seahawks originally that told him that you might want to think about trading to go into the fullback spot. But I just didn't think it would be able to work out for him. I know that he played running back in high school at Altoona, but I just didn't think it would be able to work all in just this short amount of time.
And Matt, do you know who would still be in the NFL if they changed their position? Tim Tebow.
No.
We do not need to go there right now. I'm not wasting 1 second.
One last
up on him, right?
Yeah. One last quick note. Yeah, like Catrillo said, the PSAC has a lot of guys in the NFL. The Steelers alone, 3 their 10 practice squads.
That's right.
Have PSAC kids.
Shabazz.
Right, yeah. Shabazz, Brandon Brown Dukes, right?
Yeah, but Matt Filer.
Mercyhurst.
Mercyhurst, yeah.
Yeah, and Shabazz made a couple nice plays late to make a name for himself. Especially, I know he had a nice pass break up in the Eagles game, and he had a couple big plays against the Panthers too. So yeah, PSAC maybe be the way to go if you can make it to Division I for any prospects that might be, or any high school players that might be watching this show.
Alex, I know Tomlin had a nickname for Brandon Brown Dukes at Mercyhurst. Do you have a nickname for Shabazz at all, or no?
Shabazz? No, I don't. If he did, I don't think I knew it. I don't think he had one.
I'd be curious to what that nickname would be.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's recap what we saw last night, guys. Super Bowl 50 rematch, Panthers-Broncos. And the Broncos down 17-7 at the half. They come back and win it 21-20. And Graham Gano misses a 50-yard field goal pretty badly wide to the left at the end of the game. And Cam Newton had put himself in his team in the position to win. And a couple of things coming out of this, guys, was number one, how well the running game was for both teams, because both defenses were one of the very best against the run, hence why they were in the Super Bowl last year. But for me, the biggest thing was the play of Trevor Siemian last night. I did not expect a lot from this kid at all. For a guy to face that defense on that stage and not have thrown an NFL pass yet in his career, I just saw a complete disaster last night for the Broncos, thinking it would be an ugly defensive, grinded-out type of game, but it was far from that. And I'll tell you what, Siemian was the beneficiary, of course, of a good running game with C.J. Anderson, but he made some really big throws at some key times last night, so I was pretty impressed. Alex, I'll start with you on what you saw from Trevor Siemian and getting a big win for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of our expectations were super, super low. He didn't have a great game by any stretch, and you can't even say that he played clean because he turned the ball over twice.
Right.
That one of them was the tip crazy interception by Chris Harris. The other one was really on Siemian. But he was a tough guy. I thought he showed a lot of mental toughness. They showed trust in him early. They got him throwing the ball early. I think he threw 5 times in the Broncos' first drive or something like that. And this is a guy that, the Panthers had a lot of pressure, whether it was safety blitzes or just, missed assignments by Denver or just losing the one-on-one battles. And there was a lot of A-gap pressure from Siemian. And he stood tall. He made a throw. He got back up, and he tried to do it again. So, I think he showed a lot of composure and poise in the pocket, which is rare for a guy in that situation.
Yeah, of course, and again, I think the running game certainly helped him last night. Guys, Emmanuel Sanders had made some big catches late. Ian, your thoughts on what you saw from the Broncos offense last night?
Well, Broncos offense, I don't think was a whole lot to write home about, and I didn't watch a ton of the game. I was putting together apartment furniture, so that was a good time. But yes, essential. But what I really noticed, and I know we'll talk about it, is defensively is where Denver swung the gates of this game. they've proved yet again that if you have an excellent pass rush, it can mask a lot of other issues that you're having, including offensively. Put their team in good field position multiple times, pressured Cam Newton, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, and that defensive front, those front seven guys, again, like they did in the Super Bowl, stole the show.
And what was impressive about DeMarcus Ware in particular, Ian, is he had 2 sacks and he was on a limited snap count because he didn't play. He actually didn't see any time throughout the entire offseason and including training camp. So certainly a big game. And, of course, Von Miller living up to his hype as he was, of course, the big factor in the Super Bowl. Tyler, your thoughts on what we saw last night?
It was interesting. I mean, I think everyone and their mother picked the Patriots. Wow,
D-Jock, you're struggling with names the last 2 weeks.
I know I didn't pick the Patriots, D-Jock.
Pick the Panthers. So if I was a betting man, I would have bet on the Broncos because everyone was picking the Panthers. Boom. But Matt, question for you.
Who did you pick, D-Jock?
I picked the Panthers.
Okay, just making sure.
So that's just hindsight. I think everyone in the world was picking them.
All right,
Hindsight is easy. Hindsight is easy after the game's been decided, I guess.
But that's what I just said, yeah. So, Catrillo, question for you, sir. So you said that coming into the game, you were very worried about Trevor Siemian coming to the game. Why? Because he didn't look good in preseason, didn't throw a bunch of passes.
Well,
right?
I just think it was that the fact he didn't throw an NFL pass. It was a big stage for the kid, and national TV. You're celebrating a Super Bowl title. You know, it's a big. You're facing a good defense. There was just a lot of things I didn't think were going to go very well. Plus, I didn't think that the Broncos were going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they were.
Gotcha. And would you say that the Panthers' defense is one of the best defenses in all of football?
Absolutely. I mean, they're missing Josh Norman, but to me, it's still somewhat of a small scale compared to that defense overall.
And you said that Siemian, after the had a good game. He looked good. He looked NFL ready, right?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, like Alex said, he wasn't perfect. He did have 2 picks. One, of course, wasn't his fault. Thomas Davis made that great play after Star Lotulelei knocked it in the air. But overall, I played a heck of a lot better than I thought he was going to.
Gotcha. And you don't think that Carson Wentz can play better against the Browns defense Sunday?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit different. I mean,
I was wondering where D-Jock was going with that.
I can kind of see your point, but again, this Simeon's at least been around guys. He was competing.
He played one NFL snap before that.
Right,
game.
but I also think, but he's also making Wentz is also making a bigger jump from 1AA to this point. I think he has a lot to learn as far as the mental game, even though people saying, he's got a high football IQ. I mean, you saw Siemian kind of go through his reads and be confident in the pocket, and when you have a million things coming at you and just your mindset going into this game, all of a sudden you're the starter in the blink of an eye after you thought you were probably going to play very little to none at all this year. I just don't think I don't see where Wentz is. And plus, Wentz is a totally different type of quarterback, too. I have a lot of injury worries with him, too, just because of the way he can be sometimes reckless with the football, not slide, those types of things. There's some other – I think he's more of a complicated situation than it is with Trevor Siemian going in there because, again, Siemian also has more around him, too. He's got better a little bit more better weapons. And he's got a much better defense protecting him that gave him put him in a lot of good opportunities last night too. So, and I think the Eagles' defense will still be good and could make some of those opportunities, but it's clearly not as good personnel, especially in the secondary, than the Broncos have. So I think Simeon's was a beneficiary of a good running game. He's got a good running back, C.J. Anderson. They were able to run the ball more effectively than I thought they would. He's got better weapons. We can all definitely agree on that. And of course, he's got probably the best defense, if not one of the best in the league right now.
Yes. Well, I apologize for attacking you. I was just trying to get your mindset on there.
Yes, no, it's a fair question.
That's fine. But I mean, it was interesting. I mean, everyone thought the Panthers would have some revenge, but again, the Broncos barely eked it out. But the better question is, not to change subject once again, is the whole, I don't know how to approach this, it's going to be a hot button, but Cam Newton once again getting beat up, helmet shots, and the refs not calling anything, and that was the bigger question, that just he got abused and the refs weren't calling anything, and after the game he gave the political answer of, oh no, it's fine, the referees, but This is an ongoing issue. But no, I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, I don't think it means too much. It was a good matchup, very good game to start the season, and hopefully the rest of the games this weekend going on are as good as the game we saw.
Right, and that's exactly what I was going to get to next. Of course, the NFL released a statement today about dealing with Cam Newton and should he have been checked out during the game for a concussion. But here's my thing, as rightfully as everyone should be upset of the way that was handled last night. He should have been checked out. I was surprised as everybody else that he hadn't been from some of those hits that he took, especially the one late in the game, the helmet-to-helmet hit that ultimately helped the Panthers get down the field in position to win the game. But I thought, especially in the fourth quarter, but really the whole second half was poorly managed by Ron Rivera. If you're seeing your quarterback taking hit after hit, passing the football, why are you still calling plays for design runs using him? I get it's part of your game plan, but you got to be able to adjust that on the fly and protect your quarterback a little bit here, especially if he has to scramble and he's going to put himself in another spot to get hit. Why are you calling those design runs for him? Why not hand it off to your capable running back and Jonathan Stewart? So that I really didn't understand, but yeah, that was certainly a big issue. But Alex, I'll get your thoughts on all that with Cam Newton.
I guess I have a little different take, and I think concussion is the most serious thing in football, and I think the NFL generally has handled it so poorly and with such hindsight and no foresight at all, and just trying to cover their butt. And I don't make any excuses for them at all. Again, the last hit was called, so I think we'll say there were two hits. One was missed, the Brandon Marshall launch, which was definitely missed. The other one by Stewart, that was called, so I think people don't think that was called. He was just off by Newton's intentional grounding. So the refs did see that second one. After those plays, especially the last one, there is a lot of time in between because the refs had to sort everything out with the call. So I don't know if he was officially checked out, but he's over there in the sideline and he's talking to guys. And unless you're symptomatic, because I think the misconception with concussions is that big hits mean concussions and small hits mean you're okay. But you can get a concussion, big hit you can be fine, small hit you can get a concussion. There's not a direct correlation between the two. So if Newton wasn't symptomatic, and I have no idea if he was or not, if he was and they didn't check him, it's obviously a grave concern. But if he wasn't symptomatic, then you play him. And so there is time in between. It's not like, okay, he got hit, then they jumps back in the huddle. You have no time to even talk to him and see kind of where he's at and if he's showing obvious signs of a concussion. After that second one, there was time that he came over to the sideline and was talking to guys, and if there was an issue, then hopefully someone would have spotted it. But if there's not, and there's no reason to check him out, then you don't, and he goes back in the game. So I guess my take's a little bit different on that. I hope the NFL continues to be consistent with their targeting rules, though, or at least the helmet-to-helmet hits with quarterback, because that first one should have been called. And hopefully the Broncos are fined and penalized appropriately. But yeah, it's a hot button issue, and it's still stuff the NFL is trying to get right and make up for all the wrongs they've had in the past.
And from my understanding, Alex, from the statement that the NFL put out this morning, that there was two doctors on the sideline. One that was an independent neurologist, and then you had the team physicians, and you had the guys upstairs in the booth that watch out for these types of things. And they said that they did not find anything wrong, any symptoms showing that from Newton that they didn't have to pull him off for a play and have him get checked out. So that was what was said, from my understanding, on the statement from the NFL about that. But again, if you're Ron Rivera, you cannot put your quarterback in that situation when knowing that he keeps getting hit. You can't be calling for those design runs that were basically power football dive plays up the middle. I mean, it just can't happen. I know you're trying to set yourself up playing the game, but you have Jonathan Stewart with you there. So, Ian, we'll get your thoughts now.
Well, to be fair, that second hit came at the very end of the game, so they weren't calling runs at that point. The first one happened, I think early in the second half. And yeah, he did some runs after that because you're not going to abandon the game plan if Newton's clearly fine at that point. It was one hit, a bad hit, but it was just the one hit. So it's not like Newton was getting crushed so much, helmet to helmet all game. I mean, that second one took place on the very final drive.
I don't know. To me, if you have a capable running back and Jonathan Stewart, you've been running the ball well all night, just hand it off to him so you protect your quarterback a little bit.
Part of that is you have a 250-pound quarterback that no one can stop, and so you're going to use him, and there's all the advantages of being able to have an extra blocker if you're running the football with Cam Newton. So, yeah, and they ran the ball to Stewart a good bit, but I don't blame him for calling some design runs with Cam Newton. That's part of their game plan. It's how they win. It's impossible to stop, and Newton didn't even take any big shots on those runs anyway. It's not like he was getting popped super bad on some of those design runs, and they kept doing it. It was on pass plays.
I don't know. I just think it still adds up every now and again. I get that he's a big body. He's tough to bring down, and they should use it to some extent. But I just think the way it was getting late in the game,
But he
I
didn't.
think
He didn't. They didn't run after that second hit. Did they call any design runs with Cam Newton?
I think they called like one or two after that when they were
That
getting to field goal range though. They ran it off to the left, I think,
did they
if I
do
remember
that? Someone,
correctly.
Ian DeGiacomo?
Not that I noticed.
Anyone remember? I mean, if it was the final drive, I don't. I don't know. I think that's a little overstated. But anyway, we'll continue on.
Yeah. Ian, your thoughts?
I think Cam Newton suffers from things that Ben Roethlisberger has suffered from, whereas big quarterbacks don't necessarily get those calls a lot of the times, especially guys that scramble and try to make plays with their legs. They don't necessarily get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those plays. Rightly or wrongly, we've seen that before. That's kind of in the pattern of what we've seen big quarterbacks have to deal with at times.
See, I disagree because how many calls did they get? They got one call wrong, and it was egregious. But refs getting a call wrong is nothing new in the NFL. So I don't think it's okay. We're not going to call on Newton because he's Cam Newton. They missed it because it was a scramble play, extended play. Newton had thrown the ball so late, the ref might be looking at the cross line of scrimmage, not being able to see everything. So what calls did the refs get wrong? They got one wrong. Was there something? Is there anything else they got wrong?
I know the Von Miller play probably earlier in the game probably gets called if it's someone else, in my opinion, but it didn't. The sack where Ware had him, and then Miller came in high.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everything just got a little overstated, a little overblown because it's first game and all eyes are on it.
Yeah, I just wonder if Ed Hockley was doing the game, if he tell Newton that he's too young to get those calls still.
Yeah, that was weird.
So yeah, that was so stupid. Yeah, but it was actually Gene Steratore is a very good referee in my opinion, and I was on the call last night.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for mentioning that. I mentioned to Alex yesterday again, a selfish plug here at Canisius College. Gene Steratore does men's basketball games for my conference. So I will get to meet Gene Steratore, and I will take a picture with him because I'm that lame and geeky.
You will have to share that story with us when we get to that point of the show.
I think real last thought before I know we got to move on to Browns Eagles, but I just thought the fact that the Broncos turned the ball over 3 times and still won the game blows my mind. Because usually you do that in a turnover battle, the game's over. You're not going to win 95% of games. But credit to them for being able to claw their way back. And then that last drive just had so many shades of the actual Super Bowl, where Von Miller, that ability to corner and flatten the edge and get upfield, is just something that I don't know if we've ever seen before. It was a special player.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You really did feel that way. And again, the Broncos defense stepped up late when they needed to and made plays, and they found a way to win the game. And it's a huge win for them early on in the year, especially with Trevor Siemian now under center. So let's go now to starting to break down what we'll see the rest of Week 1, and we'll go back to the Browns-Eagles and actually get into the X's and O's of this game. And basically, guys, for me, it's simple. If the Eagles are going to win this game, obviously you got to protect the football. Carson Wentz, you got to be able to limit the turnovers or not have them at all. And I think if you're Doug Peterson, I'm sure that they're going to finally open things up and have him show off that arm, try to go downfield. I'm sure you might have some of those wow plays that Carson Wentz is capable of making. But at the same time, I think if you're Doug Peterson, you want to get him in a rhythm, start with the short pass plays, get some screens going with Darren Sproles and Ryan Matthews, and then start open things up a little bit. But to me, if the Eagles cannot run the football effectively on Sunday, then they're not going to win this game, because you're going to put Wentz in too many third and long situations, and to have all that happen with being in Week 1 in his first game, he's going to make mistakes. And if you can't run the football effectively and you turn the ball over, I don't care who you play, and I don't care how bad the Browns defense is, you're not going to win this football game. I think it's going to be a close, kind of weird scoring, ugly type of football game where I think you're going to see a lot of turnovers from both sides. This is RG3's first game in over a year. You have 17 rookies on this roster. I think there's all but 4 players that are above the age of 30 on the Browns roster. So you're seeing a lot of players in game for the first time, a lot of jitters. Mistakes are going to be made. It's going to be an ugly game, but the Eagles have to be able to run the football effectively if they're going to come out on top with this win. And I think they will be able to. I think that front seven has a lot of holes still, but again, if they're not able to do it, they're not going to win this football game, and they got to throw away from Joe Hayden, of course, one of the few Pro Bowl players on that Browns roster. Tyler, we'll start with you to some keys for the Eagles here. What do you think we might see unfold?
I think the Eagles win if they score more points than the Browns.
Funny.
Very good analysis.
No,
Funny.
Very good
I
analysis.
mean, yeah, I'm. Will you relax, Kazora?
I can't joke back with you.
Well, yeah, because you're weird. I mean, this could be actually the only game that the Browns win all year, to be honest. But no, I think the Eagles got you know what to expect. I mean, it's a whole new regime, coaching staff, blah blah, whole new quarterback. I honestly don't know what to expect. I think the Browns are a dumpster fire. As you can see by trading away Gilbert to the Steelers in division and just having a million quarterbacks, you don't know what you're gonna get out of Robert Griffin. You know, he's new to the team. He had some struggles. The Redskins coming here. I mean, I guess I go with the Eagles. I think the Eagles defense, you know, this game and all year will have to step up. I think Wentz will have his growing pains. He gave that huge contract to Fletcher Cox in the offseason. He's got to step up and show he's worth that money. And I think the secondary is very good. I love Malcolm Jenkins. He's one of the top guys in the league. So when we have a top defensive tackle, a top safety, cornerbacks got to be better. I think it's a very good, sloppy, bad game. But I think the Eagles probably come away with their first victory.
Ian?
I think it's the game that I will not be watching on NFL Sunday Ticket this week. This game is probably going to be very similar to, remember a couple of years ago, Alex, whenever the Steelers and Seattle Seahawks played, and it was like 9-3 was the final. It's going to be one of those really ugly type games that I don't think is going to be a whole lot of fun to watch, but I do think the Eagles win the game based on the fact they have more NFL players than the Browns do.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I think Eagles are going to take this one. You know, you said about Joe Hayden, and yeah, he's one of the more talented guys in a pretty star secondary for Cleveland, but I think he's a shell of himself. I think he's an overrated guy. Last year was an injury-plagued season for him. I think that you can throw on him, and I want to test him. I want to see where he's at. So, because I don't know if he's going to be as good as he was, and it's good. Maybe that was always an overrated kind of idea. You know, the big thing about like I said, the Browns, what they can do is they have speed and they have size and they can get you chunk plays, whether it's Gary Barnidge or Corey Coleman or Terrell Pryor. And Robert Griffin has a live arm, regardless of what you think of Griffin as a long-term outlook with his team. He's got a big arm; he can get you some big chunk plays. So, and again, anytime a team can get you big splash plays where they can get 40 yards plus 2 or 3 times a game, they're going to give you a fight. So that's the big thing for the Eagles is they have to limit the big plays, force the Browns offense to go 10, 12 play drives because they will not be able to sustain that. But if they can get some big plays, get in the red zone quickly, anything can happen. So that's the number one thing I think the Eagles have to do is limit the big plays. But yeah, like you said, Catrillo, run the football effectively. You know, to keep Wentz clean, which should be able to do. The Browns pass rush is atrocious. They trade or they release Paul Kruger. They're starting a couple of rookies, Ogba and Joe Schobert. So Lane Johnson's going to play, which is great news for the Eagles, at least in the short term, while that whole suspension appeal goes on. But yeah, red zone situational football. That's always key for rookie quarterback. How do they handle red zone? How do they handle third down? You know, not making those dumb mistakes, being able to make a profit on every snap. So, those are the keys. But I think the Eagles do win this one.
And Alex, I totally agree about the big plays, and that is one worry I do have because I'm not as sold on this Eagles secondary as most people are. They're good at safety, no question about it. Rodney McLeod was a great sign. I love Malcolm Jenkins, but if you look on the cornerbacks, Nolan Carroll I think is the better of the three right now, but you know he still is not perfect. And I look at Leotis McKelvin, and I wasn't a big fan of what I saw from him over preseason. I found him pretty inconsistent. Same with Ron Brooks in the slot. He got beat a lot to the inside. And I think with the one thing the Browns are capable of offensively, and especially with Robert Griffin, is he can throw a good deep ball as good as anybody in this league. You know, say what else you want about him. So, again, if the Eagles give up some of those big plays, which they may or may not do, I think that'll be the only thing that'll keep the Browns in it, and I can see maybe 1 or 2 plays that'll keep the Browns going and set them up. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think the Eagles' defense is going to find a way to make a play and win this game to set up the offense for a game-winning field goal. It's going to be an ugly game, field goal fest. I still think the Eagles somehow pull out this game. I think they win 19-16. So let's go now to the Steelers, opening up the doubleheader on Monday Night Football against the Washington Redskins. But before we break down this game, Alex, I'm going to start with you. Your quick thoughts on the 53-man roster for the Steelers. and we'll go to the rest of what we'll be looking at here against the Redskins.
Yeah, pretty chalk. Not any significant surprises in the sense of guys that were kept. The biggest ones were the guys that they added. Justin Gilbert, that's a deal that I never saw coming. I'm sure 99.99% of Steelers Nation agrees with me. Take it or leave it. I think it's an okay trade. I'm not going to bash a team over it. It's a low investment kind of deal. At worst, you get a kick return, a special teamer. I'm not expecting Gilbert to turn into what he could have been out of Oklahoma State, though. I'm not holding my breath on that one bit. The big blow was just putting Bud Dupree on injured reserve, and hopefully he'll come back week 9. Will be the first time he's able to come back. But that pass rush, I've talked about the outside linebackers, how crucial it is for Pittsburgh to get more out of them, and obviously losing Dupree is going to be a big hindrance in that mission.
And plus, Cam Hayward, is coming off an injury too in the preseason, so you have to worry about that. And offensive line, Marcus Gilbert, you have that injury concern. But the Steelers did bring back David DeCastro on a contract extension, so I'm sure you're happy about that. And my other one I'm looking at too, Tyler Matakevich has made not only the 53-man roster, but he's listed as number 2 at inside linebacker right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into the depth chart. I don't think Matakevich is going to be the next guy up. I think that's just kind of a product of Mac versus Buck and the team not putting a lot of thought into that. Vince Williams is the next man up at inside linebacker.
All right, so those are quick thoughts on the Steelers' 53-man roster. And now, as we get ready for this game against the Redskins, I think the Steelers have a good chance of winning this by 10 or more. I think, again, I know the Redskins have Josh Norman, but that doesn't solve all their secondary issues. I think if you're the Steelers, because all the smack talk he's been going on the last few weeks, I test him a little bit just to see what this guy's made of. Can you walk the walk? I'm saying, talk the talk and walk the walk. Thank you. So I think you'll see the Steelers be aggressive in that manner. I think they will be able to run the football a little bit, even though, of course, you don't have a Le'Veon Bell. But I think they'll be able to work a lot of screen passes and kind of make some big plays that way if they're not able to run the football as effectively as they want to, which they may not, dealing with that Washington front seven, which is pretty good. Not great, but I think that it's good enough where they might give them some issues here and there. But I think the Steelers have a very favorable matchup this week. Alex, your thoughts?
I think it's a little too optimistic for my tastes. That Washington offense scares me. They have consistency in the coaching staff. They have a great coaching staff, whether it's Jay Gruden or Sean McVay or Ike Hilliard or Bill Callahan. I mean, they got a lot of names, guys that I like. Rob Akey, defensive line coach. I think that offense for Washington, it tests you horizontally. They love to spread things out. They love to go empty set. They put detach Jordan Reed from the formation. They test you vertically with their speed. Deshaun Jackson, Jordan Reed, Jamison Crowder in space, not a 4-4 guy, but he's very shifty. So I think they're going to create one-on-one matchups. They're going to force you to tackle well, and if you can't, they're going to get big plays off of it, either vertically with air yards or yak. So I think that offense concerns me. Can the Steelers get a pass rush? Washington's offensive line, they're physical guys. I love the right guard, right tackle in the run game, Brandon Sheriff and Morgan Moses. Moses is not great in pass protection, but as a run blocker, they're nasty. They get after it. And they have Matt Jones, their running back, who's going to be healthy this year. He's another big guy that's tough to bring down. So the offense scares me. Defensively, I think the Steelers can definitely do some work. I think that Washington's defensive line is pretty poor, and the Steelers should be able to run the ball. If they can't, there's a big problem because they should be able to run the ball well. Josh Norman's going to get tested, but not just test him. He's actually been respectful this week. He's said nice things about AB and Ben. There's not been a whole lot of pregame smack talk. I'm sure it'll happen in game, but I'm going to test Josh Norman just because AB is going to be on him, and I want to throw the ball to Antonio Brown. It's nothing to do with Josh Norman. It's everything to do with AB. So I haven't really thought about enough of prediction. I guess I'm supposed to give one here. Get to me later on that. But I think the Washington's offense is going to present a lot of problems for the Steelers defense.
I guess I can see, as far as the secondary concerns, for the Steelers have had all offseason facing some of the weapons that the Redskins have. I just think when a play needs to be made late, I like the Steelers defense to do that better. And I think the Steelers can almost outscore anybody. So that's why I think it'll be somewhat of a high-scoring game, like a 34-24 IC type of game for the Steelers, but I still think they can win. They can win this if they are able to force some turnovers and maybe ball control a little bit too. If they're being able to run the football. But Ian, I'll get your thoughts on what we might see from this one.
It's tough to really tell. I mean, that first game of the season, there's no tape for anyone to watch. We've only seen the starters for a few minutes. It's tough to really tell who we're actually going to see and how we're going to see them aligned. I think the Steelers are the better team. I think they're going to win, but as Alex said, that Redskins offense is going to test you in a multitude of different ways, and I think once they get in game, that's really going to show. But when it comes to the Josh Norman Antonio Brown thing, I'll take Antonio Brown over pretty much anybody.
I agree.
So I'm going to take that matchup. But I think the Steelers' offense is good enough in all three phases to really win this game.
Yeah. Tyler, your thoughts what we might see on Monday night?
Steelers.
Okay.
Any particular reason, DJ?
Well, no, but you guys, I'm the last one to talk, so it's basically everything that you guys said. I mean, the Steelers are very good, even though they have some trouble. No Bell, no Bryant for the year. Still have Big Ben, still have Antonio Brown. Just signed the Castro to a big deal. I think they'll be fine. Yes, the defenses look pretty good in the preseason so far, and I think the Redskins are going to be good for the NFC East, but when you go into the AFC North, it's a whole different ball game there. So I think Steelers win by 2 touchdowns.
All right, so all going with the Steelers across the board to win Monday night, kickoff 6:55 on ESPN. Should be a very interesting game to start off the Monday night slate. So let's go around to some rest of Week 1 predictions and breakdowns. Let's start first because we talked about the Bradford trade earlier, and that would be.
This is my part, isn't it? This is my part picks, isn't it?
If you want to go that way, do you have it in front? That's true. I forgot about that. I forgot about it that way.
I have it all typed up, ready to go. Let's see. So,
all right, well, fire away then, D-Jock. I'll let you take over here.
We all picked the Panthers yesterday, so that sucks. We're all
so we're all 0-1 right now. We're off to a terrific start.
Which means, Alex, what does that mean?
Next game, new game?
Next game, new game.
I totally forgot about this. This is great.
The Green Bay Packers are heading down to Jacksonville for Week 1. We'll start with, Kazor. You're up first.
Give me Green Bay. I know Jacksonville's a trendy team, and for good reason. But Aaron Rodgers healthy, Jordy Nelson, even if he's going to be on a bit of a pitch count, not fat or less fat, Eddie Lacy. Give me Green Bay in this one.
All right, Ian Hunter.
I'll take Green Bay for pretty much the same reason Alex said. Give me the better quarterback in the matchup, and that's who I'm taking.
All right, and Matt Catrillo.
I think the Jaguars can have some success offensively, with Allen Hurts and Allen Robinson emerging. But there's a lot of pieces on defense that are up and coming for Jacksonville, but just not a great matchup to kind of start gelling Week 1 against Aaron Rodgers and that offense. So Packers all day.
Big matchup there. Malik Jackson versus the Packers interior line. Packers get rid of Josh Sitton. Are they going to pay for it Week 1?
Ooh, I like it. All right, next game, new game. The Buffalo Bills, with their Rex Ryan brothers, Tyrod Taylor, head down to Baltimore, who cut their running back on Saturday and re-signed him on Monday. So Bills at Ravens. Catrillo, you start this one.
I like Baltimore in this game. Like I said, I've never been a Tyrod Taylor fan. I think Baltimore is slowly coming back to order a little bit. I think that they have some underrated pieces offensively. Who knows about the running game, though? But I think Joe Flacco, back being fully healthy off the ACL injury, is certainly a plus. And when you look at Buffalo again, they might have some good time running the football, but it's not going to be enough defense. There's some holes. So I'll take Baltimore in a close game.
By the way, I took the Packers last round.
Yes. Okay.
So clean sweep. Ian Hunter, your pick.
I'm going to take Baltimore because I actually don't know who's going to play for the Buffalo Bills. It seems like every day there's a new player for them getting suspended. So who's playing in this game for the Buffalo Bills? Talented roster, but how many guys are suspended now? 2 guys, and they released Williams. So 3 or 4, whatever the number is, when you keep having talented players leave your team because of off-the-field issues, it's not going to help you win, and that's why I'm taking Baltimore.
All right, Alex.
Now I'm going to take Buffalo in this one. Catrillo, I got to ask, who is the underrated offensive talent in Baltimore? I can't think of hardly a name. Who help me out?
He doesn't know one either.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. How can you call him underrated?
I That's not coming to me. I don't know why.
Are you
It's not
talking
coming right
about
now.
Dixon, who's hurt?
I was, but I didn't realize he was hurt. That's who it was. So okay. Well, anyway, I still like Baltimore regardless. Because I just don't. I think Tyrod Taylor's going to turn the football over regardless of who Baltimore has on offense.
No, Alex.
I was thinking Dixon though. I forgot he was hurt. I'm sorry.
No, Alex. Matt's talking about Benjamin Watson. Obviously,
I know he was hurt. I know he was out. Yeah, that's an unfortunate injury though for the Ravens.
Very. Anyway, give me Buffalo. I think Stephen Gilmore is going to shut down whoever emerges as the passing attack for Baltimore. Unless Baltimore gets some of their pass interference first downs. I like Buffalo. Tyrod Taylor. I like Tyrod Taylor. I like Sean McCoy. I think the pass rush is going to be better. So give me the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, me being in Buffalo, it's hard not to pick them. I'm being around, but I think, as kind of Matt alluded to, I'm going to agree with Matt. That makes me shudder. But the Bills, I guess it was Matt or it was Ian, had a lot of off-field issues, injuries, suspensions, etc. I think they're going to have a letdown beginning of the season because the Bills, they always let their fans down. So I'm gonna go Ravens. I'm gonna go Ravens week 1. Next game, new game. Chicago Bears at the trendy pick, Houston Texans. Chicago at Texans. We'll start with, I guess, Ian this time.
You just guess me. Wow. I'm going to go with Houston in this one. Just Chicago seems to be a team still in transition. You lose Matt Forte, Jay Cutler. Which Jay Cutler are you going to get? If Brock Osweiler comes in there and doesn't turn the ball over and just gives the ball to Lamar Miller, DeAndre Hopkins, you get J.J. Watt back and a very talented defense. I think the Houston Texans are able to win this one pretty, not handedly, but I think they win well.
All right, Alex, go next.
No, I agree with Ian, but I think the Texans are going to win handedly. Give me Clowney, Watt against a pretty poor Bears offensive tackle group. Houston wins this one.
Catrillo.
I agree. Houston has a field day. That defense, especially against that horrendous Chicago offense. Cutler's going to turn the ball over, and they won't be able to move the ball at all. I say Texans won all day.
And it's a clean sweep. I go with the Texans also, and I think Lamar Miller can have a very great year, right, Alex?
He better. He's on my team.
Hey, next game is the Browns and Eagles. I got Matt's pick. Well, what did you and Ian pick? I missed it.
Eagles.
You picked the Eagles. Ian, what'd you go with?
No one wins that game, but I guess I'll go with I'll go with the Eagles.
The Eagles, that clean sweep again. So next game, new game, Buccaneers at Falcons. We'll go with Alex this time.
Well, Tampa Bay was one of my wild card picks, one of my sleepers. Atlanta's still kind of a mess, especially in the secondary. They can't get enough of a pass rush. Is Beasley going to be the source of it? I mean, I do like some of their defensive line pieces. Beasley could be a guy. I like Grady Jarrett a lot, but give me Tampa Bay with Mike Evans, Doug Martin, Charles Sims, Jameis Winston kind of leading that team. Tampa Bay wins this one.
All right, Catrillo, you go next.
I think Jameis Winston is emerging as a good quarterback in this league, and he's definitely got the weapons around him. Doug Martin with that running game. Charles Sims, I think, is an underrated player. I have him on my fantasy team too, so I've learned about him a little bit. Defensively, I think they'll be able to force some turnovers on Matt Ryan. I just think I really don't think he's that great a quarterback. Yes, he has Julio Jones, but you can only do so much with him. There's just too many issues with the Falcons. I don't think they're that great a football team. I'll take Tampa Bay.
Ian?
Tampa Bay, clean sweep.
Well, it is not a clean sweep. I will go with the Falcons. I think, kind of learned from everyone piling up on the Broncos yesterday. I love Matt Ryan, Philadelphia boy. Falcons open at home. I'm going to go with the Falcons to begin this year.
Glad your picks are rooted in homerism.
Hey, I know. All right, next game, new game. The Vikings, with their new quarterback, Sam Bradford, travel to Tennessee. Matchup of former number 1 picks. Matt, go first.
Well, I don't know who's going to be starting this game under center for the Vikings. Is it going to be Sam Bradford trying to learn the offense rather quickly in 8 days? Doesn't seem likely. It looks like Sean Hill is going to be under center for this game. But either way, I think the Vikings defense will be able to force a couple turnovers on Marcus Mariota. I think the Titans will try to run the football. I don't think they're going to be that successful facing that stout Minnesota defense. I think Adrian Peterson will be able to run the ball and carry that offense. So I think Minnesota wins a fairly close game, but I think Minnesota takes it.
Sounds good. Kazora, go.
This one's tough. Tennessee again was one of my trendy picks. I'm gonna say Sean Hill starts this game. He gets pulled at halftime for Sam Bradford, and that's how things go. I'm going to give Minnesota wins. Blair Walsh some redemption with a game-winning field goal. I think Tennessee is going to try to be that ball control offense, but with Linville Joseph and Sharif Floyd, I think the interior is going to be kind of tough to run on. So give me – I still like the Titans this year, but give me Minnesota in this one.
I'll take that for my fantasy team for Blair Walsh.
All right, we don't need all the fantasy talk here.
Ian?
I'll go against the norm here. I'll take Tennessee. Just a feeling. And they've added a number of pieces. Is Marcus Mariota going to make that leap in his year 2? Defensively, Dick LeBeau has had his hands on that for another year now, so we'll see kind of what his presence means to that team. I'll take Tennessee just because the quarterback situation is kind of a mess right now. And anytime Sean Hill's your starting quarterback, that's just not a good thing.
And we're going to split down the middle. I'm going to Titans also. So 2-2. I think the Titans could have a pretty breakout year. Mariota back another year. I think DeMarco Murray has a slight resurgence this year. And my sleeper pick of the year, look out for my boy Tajay Sharp out of Massachusetts. I think he's like number 2, number 3 wide receiver. Going to have a breakout year. So there's my fantasy tip for people out there. Next team, the Bengals. We're traveling to the Jets. Jets. Ian Hunter, go ahead.
The Bengals are an extremely talented team. I don't think they're quite as good offensively as they were last year, but you add a guy like Tyler Boyd to an already talented team where you have a great offensive line, you have a good running back core, you have A.J. Green. Andy Dalton was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year before he got hurt against Pittsburgh. A very talented and sack-happy defense, a physical defense. I'm taking Cincy.
All right, Catrillo.
I'm going with Cincinnati as well. Just I don't think the Jets have enough offensively to keep up. I know you have Matt Forte, Eric Decker, and they'll be able to make some plays here and there, but not enough since he wins by a touchdown.
And Kazor.
Oh, this one's tough. Yeah, give me the Bengals on this one just because the Jets' offensive line, the right tackle spot, they actually might rotate guys throughout the game, which tells you how bad the right tackle situation is.
Weird,
yeah, because Giacomini, I think the right tackle's on pup or something. But yeah, I like the Jets. I mean, I like Fitzpatrick. I think they can definitely give the Bengals a test, but give me Cincinnati by a touchdown.
And it's a clean sweep. I'll go with the Bengals. Also, I think Bengals and Steelers are going to fight for that division once again. Go with the Bengals. Next game, the Oakland Raiders travel down to the Bayou, to the Saints. Alex, go first.
Oakland, much better defense. Both have some potent offenses, but Oakland's defense is a whole lot better. Khalil Mack's going to eat.
Ian.
The Raiders, I think from what Alex said, defensively, they're just going to shut down that Saints offense that doesn't have a ton of great. I know Brandon Cooks is poised to have a breakout year, but I just don't think they have enough firepower on either side of the ball to really give the Raiders a run.
And Catrillo.
I agree. Not only defensively will the Raiders have a big day, but Derek Carr and Amari Cooper are going to be hooking up all day long up and down the field. I like the Raiders big.
That's disgusting to be hooking up. All right. And I'm going with the Raiders also. Again, another trendy pick. Everyone loves the Raiders this year. Could win the division. So got the Raiders there. And to finish out the 1 o'clock games, the Chargers at the Chiefs. Catrillo, go ahead.
I'm going to take Kansas City at home again. I don't think San Diego's a very good football team. I get Phillip Rivers will probably keep them afloat, but I think defensively Kansas City will make some plays late to win the game.
Ian, go ahead.
Kansas City, better team.
Sounds good. Kazor.
Kansas City for the reasons those guys said.
And I agree once again. All right, going to 4 o'clock games. Dolphins at Seahawks. Ian, go ahead.
The Seahawks were a team that did not start well last year, and they've had some injuries to their running backs again this year. I don't know. I'm going to take the Dolphins. Just a gut pick.
Ooh.
Go against the norm a little bit.
Oh,
sounds good. Kazor.
I like the boldness, Ian. I was tempted, but I don't have the guts to pull the trigger. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Seattle on this one, even though I have severe questions about that offensive line, and Dominican Sue could really wreak havoc. But Russell Wilson's there, and he's used to running under pressure.
It's not guts, Alex. It's pure exhaustion I am experiencing right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Catrillo.
I'm going to go with Seattle, too. I think defensively, they'll create a turnover, set up the offense late. Any given day, when you look at the quarterback battle, give me Russell Wilson all day. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is emerging. I think the system will ultimately play to his strengths with new head coach and Adam Gase. I just think going to Seattle is not ideal for a Week 1 matchup, trying to finally put that all together.
And Ian will stand alone. I'm going to go with Seattle. And there's rumors that Marshawn Lynch is coming back. I don't know.
Don't even get me started
He
with
shot
that.
those down to Ian Rappaport today. Apparently, Rappaport called him. So, I mean, Lynch is unpredictable, but
I gotcha. All right, next game here, Lions at Colts. Alex, go ahead.
Give me the Lions in this one. I think the Colts have Jack Mehort playing. He's on the injury report. It's kind of crazy, but I think the Lions' defense is a little bit better. The secondary for the Colts is quite the mess right now. Vontae Davis hurt. Cromartie's probably going to play a lot. So the Lions.
Gotcha. Catrillo.
You know what? I've been going back and forth with this game. I like Detroit in this game too. I think it's going to be another very ugly game. Both teams have a lot of issues, especially the Colts. I just think the Colts are a little bit too battered and bruised right now already when you go into just starting Week 1 to survive. So I think the Lions escape and sneak one away from the Colts.
All right, Ian.
Give me a healthy Andrew Luck and maybe a better offensive line with Ryan Kelly sitting there now, then I'll take the Colts.
I'm going with the Colts also, so split down the middle. Giants at Cowboys. Catrillo, go first.
I think, first game, I think that opened things up for Dak Prescott a little bit just because, again, we talked about, a little bit of film. You have the preseason, but I think as the season goes along, you'll see Dak Prescott be less and less successful, as I've talked about before. But I think this game he could make a lot of plays with his legs. However, I think the Giants the front four finds a way to get a big sack late, open things up. I think the Giants' offense is going to have a field day against that horrendous Dallas defense. So I think the Giants win in a shootout.
All right, Ian.
Dallas doesn't have a defense. They're all suspended. So I'll take the team with a veteran quarterback, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I'll take the Giants.
Alex.
The Dak train keeps on rolling. He gets the victory. I take him over the
Giants.
Wow.
How about that?
Well, I feel smart. Me and Alex agreeing. I'm going with the Cowboys. Once again, a split. Monday night game, Patriots at Cardinals. Alex, go first.
This is tough. I'm not a big Carson Palmer fan this year. I mean, of course, the Patriots are starting Jimmy Garoppolo. Give me Belichick Arians. It's going to be a fun one. Who's the home team in that one, DJ?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah, give me Arizona. Close one. I rarely pick against New England. No, give me Arizona.
Ian, go ahead.
I'll go with Arizona, just a little bit more offensively, and I think defensively both teams kind of even out, so I'll take the edge with the offense.
Catrillo.
Yeah, I see a low-scoring game too, defensive battle. I just think if it's going to come down to quarterback play, give me Carson Palmer all day against Jimmy Garoppolo. Though I agree with Alex, I think Carson Palmer is going to struggle this year. I think he'll have enough to win this game with the help of his defense.
Clean sweep going with the Cardinals also. We all had the Steelers over the Redskins. The Monday night late game, the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. Catrillo, lead us off.
Chip Kelly once again opening up a new tenure on Monday Night Football just as he did with the Eagles, but he's not going to be nearly as successful as that first game against the Redskins in 2013. I think it's going to be ugly. I think LA is going to have an ugly game too, but I think they'll have enough to win offensively, and because I just think that there's so much things wrong with the San Francisco 49ers, and we'll see how much Chip Kelly has actually adapted to the NFL system, what he's learned, and until I see it, I don't have the faith. I think he's stubborn, so I think LA wins LA wins by a touchdown, a low-scoring game.
All right, Ian Hunter.
I'll take LA. That defensive line is really something special for LA, and the 49ers are a mess, especially offensively. So I'll take the LA Rams.
And Alexander Kazorna, go ahead.
I'm going to take the Rams, and I'm still going to call them St. Louis because I hate teams leaving. So the St. Louis Rams beat the 49ers.
And a clean sweep, I'll take the Rams also. So there are all your NFL picks for Week 1.
All right, thank you, D-Jock. I'm so glad we brought that back. I don't know why I forgot about that because that was always really fun, especially with the next game, new game.
You
I
guys don't
can't.
want to do PSAC games, do you?
No.
No, we don't have time. Ian and I have to get rolling here. But
Continue. Go ahead.
yeah. But Clarion does play Bloomsburg this week, an early test for them in the
Ooh, and they've
PSAC. I
looked
will
good
say
so
that.
far.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they played Lock Haven. Lock Haven's always not a very good program, but always a good win. I think offensively they're there. Connor Simmons, I think, threw for almost 400 yards again. So I don't know. I think I like Bloomsburg in that game, but we'll see. It's a good litmus test for Clarion. Hopefully, they got to continue to prove themselves against the big boys of the PSAC because they're at that point now where they have to start proving themselves. But gonna be another interesting week in the NFL, guys, or I should say, it should be an interesting week one, not another. We'll be at another next week. But if they last night is any indication, should be a good slate of games, and certainly we'll have a lot to talk about. Good to have all four of you guys back in order, and looks like we will pretty much have this time where you can probably expect this to be in the mid-afternoon on Friday. So check this out: everything you need to know about the Eagles, everything you need to know about the Steelers, and the rest of the NFL. And maybe we'll add a little bit more as the year goes along. So, again, thank you for tuning in. For Ian Hunter, Alex Kazora, and Tyler DeGiacomo, I'm Matt Catrillo, and we'll talk to you next week to break down Week 2 of the NFL season here on the Football Friday webcast.